you mentioned the kind of experience where you move towards painting, and it's a whole different thing because you are in the space. And my next question is actually really about that. When we visit a cultural space, there's always that element of transcendency. Like it's a different kind of experience when you visit a physical space, and it feels different. And we've all been transported in a space where that emotes whatever the exhibition or the artist wants us or has planned for us. How do you think that this translates, which is a great also question from Javier in the chat, which is how would you express that artistic part, or that artistic art as well? How do you convey that in an experience? And to be more specific in terms of technologies, how do you think, for example, AR or mixed reality or can augment that experience if you are in the space? Or how can VR convey that same feeling, or even supersede it in some ways? Because there are things you can do in a virtual space that you're not allowed to do in a physical space.
I think that's one of my big sales pitches very early on with museums is this isn't a physical space, so we have no physical constraints. We don't have to worry about health and safety. It doesn't matter if your precious artifact cannot be exposed to the air, let alone be touched by mere mortals. In virtual spaces, we can challenge all of that. I think there's lots of opportunity for creating absolute amazing delight, especially in a social experience when you have a incredibly compelling either storyteller or knowledgeable expert in the subject matter. The other thing to sort of counterbalance that is place is sometimes the most important thing. So the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam have created a VR experience that enables you to experience the context of Anne Frank's diary because you are in a building that physically doesn't really exist in the same form anymore. So you cannot going to Amsterdam and being in Anne Frank House is a vitally important thing because it gives you like almost a slap in the face around the context of that story. But the VR experience is something else because you literally can't do it. Like you literally can't be there anymore. So we're working with them to bring that onto curators at the moment. So that's the next tour that will be available. And it'll be the first time that you'll have been able to explore that space with other people. So one of their constraints is the spaces, they're not tiny, but they're very small. And our avatars, we've developed a new version of the avatar, which we're calling the mini avatar, which is effectively just an orb that moves when you speak, so that we can have multiple people in those spaces. It means that you're not bumping up against each other, you're not encroaching on people's personal space, but you're all still in the space together, which is going to enable them to do school tours for the first time. So what we can unlock with virtual is so much more powerful. I'm not so sure with VR, AR and mixed reality, how I've yet to see really compelling things, but I think I'm a little biased towards the really immersive experience in VR. But yeah, I think there are so many opportunities, but it's about taking care over that understanding about whether the storytelling is object-based or place-based, and being really conscious of like the story that's being told.
Yeah, so there was many questions in your question, and we wouldn't have enough of 1 hour to speak about the subjects. There is one thing which is, and it's funny because it's not most of the projects in the fields, but that we share with Emma also, it's the importance of the other humans. And not just to be social, but also to be able to guide you and answer your question and tell a story which is not just linear, which has you know, which is broken by the question, by whatever happened, and this is like very important for us also. So at the center there is human to human interaction, and that's very important. That said, I think that nothing will be better than reality. Nothing, I mean, you can't explain to anyone that going to whatever exhibition, Guggenheim museum in VR is the same thing or is better than going really there. It's not the same thing, clearly. But as Emma said, and I think that's one of a very common mistake. It's the 101 reconstruction. This is just stupid. What you go get in a museum, in hard physical walls, is not the same thing as what you will come to get inside of a virtual museum. The quality of things are not the same, and the possibilities are not the same. So of course it means that the experience won't be the same, and that's very interesting, because and that's one of the things that I tell museums when they say, yeah, but if we do that, we're going to kill our own business. You know, people they won't come anymore. Or, no, it works together. It works together, and when you get rid of those constraints, the physical constraints and the time constraints, you can imagine you have no limitation on what you can do. For example, we work on an exhibition which was Renoir and Picasso. And the idea of this exhibition was that it's an exhibition that is happening at the same time in Renoir Museum and at the Picasso Museum, and also at the Picasso workshop, and also at the Renoir workshop. So it's 4 different places. So in the physical world, if you want to do the whole exhibition, you needed like 3 days. Which is something that no one will do. But this juxtaposition of elements was very interesting. And it's something that can be achieved in VR very easily, because you can switch from one place to the other. You don't have this limitation. Of course, reconstructing things that have disappeared since a long time, immerse yourself in a situation that you wouldn't be able to immerse yourself. All these are very powerful tool to tell stories regarding a culture or a piece of art, and so on. I do think that on-premise VR, XR, and AR are tools which can be used very effectively to build experiences in the museum that can be really interesting, and maybe go a little bit outside of the constraints that like this to centuries of habits, and do things a little bit differently, bringing storytelling, maybe even a little bit more gaming experience is something which is very interesting to do inside of a museum.